Okay, I've already shown you in my previous videos and work that Odin is Zeus, is Jehovah, is Jupiter, Sabaoth, is Dagda, and Jeb, and all of his other names. And I've already shown you that he and his family traveled the world. He has been shown as a white man in much of the text. But what you don't know is that he was a sorcerer. And this is your Jehovah. I'm going to read this from the Heimskringla, History of the Kings of Norway, by Snorri Sturluson, of Othin's magic. Othin could shift his appearance. When he did so, his body would lie there as if he were asleep or dead, but he himself, in an instant, in the shape of a bird or animal, a fish or a serpent, went to distant countries on his or other men's errands. He was also able, with mere words, to extinguish fires, to calm the sea, and to turn the winds any way he pleased. He had a ship called Skithblathner, with which he sailed over great seas. It could be folded together like a cloth. Othin had with him Mimir's head, which told him many tidings from other worlds, and at times he would call to life dead men out of the ground, or he would sit down under men that were hanged. On the account he was called Lord of the Ghouls, or of the Hanged. He had 2 ravens on whom he had bestowed the gifts of speech. They flew far and wide over the lands and told him many tidings. By these means he became very wise in his lore, and all these skills he taught with those runes and songs which are called magic songs or charms. For this reason the Aesir also are called workers of magic. Othin had the skills which gives great power and which he practiced himself. It is called seath or sorcery, and by means of it he could know the fate of men and predict events that had not yet come to pass. And by it he could also inflict death or misfortunes or sickness, or also deprive people of their wits or strength and give them to others. But this sorcery is attended by such wickedness that manly men considered it shameful to practice it, and so it was taught to priestesses. Othin knew about all hidden treasures, and he knew such magic spells as would open for him the earth and mountains and rocks and burial mounds. And with mere words he bound those who dwelled in them and went in and took what he wanted. Exercising these arts, he became very famous. His enemies feared him, and his friends had faith in him and in his power. Most of these skills he taught the sacrificial priest. They were next to him in all manner of knowledge and sorcery, yet many others learned a great deal of it. Hence sorcery spread far and wide and continued for a long time. People worshipped Othin and his 12 chieftains, calling them their gods, and believed in them for a long time thereafter. The name Othin is derived from that of Othin, and men gave their sons that name. But from that name of Thor are derived such names as Thorir or Thorin, or it is combined with other names such as Steinthor, Half-Thor, and also changed in other ways. Okay, I'm going to stop. Okay, so basically, if I was to continue reading the story of the Heimskringla, you'll find out that Othin Zeus died in Sweden and was cremated with his belongings. But here's the thing. Okay, I've talked about this in my videos about him being a shapeshifter, psychic, telepathic, able to affect people, and all of this just told you what I just said. But the key thing here is this, and this is interesting. I'm trying to go back and figure out what they looked like. I know they were white. They were described as having hair. They were described as incredibly tall. They were frightening. Um, and that when they're described as these archons in the Nag Hammadi library, they had to change their form to look more like a woman or a human woman to mate with human women. But at that point, I wondered how human were they. I know they're tall. I know they're white. They apparently had hair. But here's the clue. It says let me quote this. Othin could shift his appearance. When he did so, his body would lie there as if he were asleep or dead, but he himself, in an instant, in the shape of a bird or animal, a fish or a serpent, went to distant countries on his or other men's errands. Okay. What that tells me is this guy was an advanced shaman. He was astrally projecting. He was able to affect things through his mind and his astrally projected body. Now, you could believe this or not. That's up to you. I personally have done some investigation into this. I'm not really going to get into too much of it, but to a certain degree, I think there's a possibility that this can work. The other thing that Odin-Zeus-Jehovah, Dagda, and all his other names believed in was prophecy. And they were very superstitious. And in his Greek form, Prometheus had a prophecy, and that's what allowed him to get free by telling it. In the Poetic Edda by Henry Adams Bellows, in the Voluspo, there's a prophecy given about Balder, and Odin is very concerned. And he tries to find out from this elderly woman what is going to happen, but he can't get that information. So they were very, very into magic, sorcery, shamanism, whatever you want to call it. This guy had it. The Heimskringla says he died and he was cremated. So, but it also says he could shapeshift by lying down and projecting himself. So to me, that answers quite a bit of what's going on and confirms that they were of some kind of a different Caucasoid race. I'm just going to read a little bit of this Volupsa here real quick. I saw for Balder, the bleeding god, the son of Othin, his destiny set. Famous and fair in the lofty fields, full grown in strength, the mistletoe stood. From the branch which seemed so slender and fair came a harmful shaft that Hoth should hurl. But the brother of Balder, were born ere long, and one night old, fought Othin's son. And it goes on. And basically, that's the Nordic version of the murder of Dionysus Osiris. And this poetic Edda has quite a bit more in these poems that give the Nordic version of that history. So that answers that, and confirms to me that there is a great cover-up of this ancient family that was kind of human, very tall, had a lot of capability to do magic, sorcery, astral projection, etc. But they lived and died, and the priests have continued on benefiting from them. And tying into this whole alien thing, like I said, I'm now leaning more to that being a hoax than connected to this. And I'm going to get into that later. I'm going to get some of the books where Betty and Barney Hills was one of the most famous ones, but Barney talked about these aliens speaking German. And that's not put out a lot in the Hollywood movie, as well as the other Fire in the Sky guy talked about two blondes and a lot of blondes on the ship with these grays. So I am at this point detaching from this alien connection to these Cronides. These Cronides appeared to have lived and died, but were very skilled in magic, astral projection. There is some truth to it. If you don't believe it, that is your choice. Those that have experienced it know there's something to it more than that is talked about and or admitted to. Okay, that's it for my talk on Odin-Zeus-Jehovah being a sorcerer, magician, shaman. Thank you.